Any comment by the state?
No, sir.
Well, as it relates to ethical issues, of course, lawyers are governed by the rules of professional conduct, and that rule extends to people working under a lawyer's supervision. All of that is handled by the by disciplinary counsel. My interest is not in any of that or in creating any ethical dilemmas or anything of that sort. My interest is in preserving the integrity of this trial, and it's very dangerous to have any type of social media activity by participants in a trial during the course of the trial. The rules regarding pretrial publicity and what parties are allowed to do, or that's addressed in our rules. The solicitor is severely restricted with regard to public comment. The rules are not as stringent or much less stringent with regard to the defense, but all that's pretrial. During the course of a trial, things change. I don't want to spend time pursuing forensic analysts' interpretation of deleted Facebook postings and all that. Hopefully, a word to the wise will be sufficient, and we can move on without any trouble.
Your Honor, the parties involved have been admonished, and I'm certain that there will be no issues moving forward.
That's fine. Thank you. Anything else?
No, not from the state.
All right. We had a juror who was stuck in traffic. The juror is arriving. We'll give him a moment to settle in. I just wanted to come out so that when they're ready, we can start, as opposed to start with taking up other matters. Jurors are ready? Well, we'll bring them on. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, it's encouraging to know that you are apparently heeding my warnings concerning being exposed to outside information concerning the case. I've been discussing scheduling with the lawyers throughout the trial, and it's widely known within the courtroom here that we will not have court on Friday, Friday of this week and Friday of next week. But I got a note wanting to know if we're having court Friday, and you are wanting to know by the end of the day due to Veterans Day plans. But no, Friday is Veterans Day. We certainly respect the fact that that is a day reserved for celebration of veterans, honor memory of veterans, and we will not have court on that holiday. And we also will not have court, according to current plans, next Friday. But the note is encouraging because everyone knew except for you all. Which is good. All right. So we'll press on with this day and the state's next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state will call Jamie Johnson. testimony you shall give the court and the jury in the trial of this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your first and last name, and spell your last name out clearly.
Jamie Johnson, Johnsson.
Good morning, Ms. Johnson.
Good morning.
Could you tell our jury where you're employed?
The State Law Enforcement Division, commonly known as SLED.
And how long have you been at SLAG?
Approximately 4 years.
And what do you do for SLAG?
I'm a special agent in the crime scene unit.
And were you working on that in that capacity on the morning of April 4th of 2015?
Yes, I was.
How did you become involved in our case, this case?
I was notified by our operations desk, which is essentially our dispatch, that the Low Country region was requesting crime scene assistance for an officer-involved shooting.
And who all responded to that dispatch from y'all's operations desk?
Myself and Al Brown from crime scene.
And what was Al Brown's role in the investigation?
He was the primary crime scene agent.
And who took over that role upon Mr. Brown's leaving SLAG?
I did.
Now, did you and Mr. Brown come to Charleston together?
No, we did not.
And to what location did you respond?
I responded directly to North Charleston Police Department.
Why is that?
That's where I was instructed to go based on where Mr. Slager was.
Okay, and you were instructed to go there by Agent Brown, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you recall what time it was when you arrived at North Charleston Police Department?
12:06 p.m.
And what did you do upon arriving at the police department?
I was escorted to Mr. Slager's location.
And where was he?
I believe he was back in their detective bureau.
Was he still in uniform at the time?
No, he was not.
Did you observe any injuries on Officer Slager at the time?
Yes, I did.
And if you would, describe the injuries.
He had an injury to the middle finger of his left hand that was still bleeding at the time, and 2 smaller injuries to the middle finger and ring fingers on his right hand, and he also had fresh scrapes on both of his knees.
Did you take photographs at the time?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this time we would offer states 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, and 146, I believe, without objection. Is that right?
That is correct.
They are admitted without objection.
And we're just going to run through these briefly, Ms. Johnson. You can tell the jury what they are, starting with 141.
Sure. This is a. Do you want me to go ahead and show the jury as well? States 141 is a photograph of Mr. Slager.
Okay. And that's how he appeared at North Charleston Police Department that morning. I guess it was this afternoon by that time, correct?
That's correct.
142.
This is a photograph showing the injuries to both of his hands.
And is this the injury you're talking about that was still bleeding at the time
Yes.
on his left middle finger? 143.
Just a photograph showing the palms of both of his hands.
144,
Photograph showing the injury to his left knee.
and 145,
Photo showing the injury to his right knee.
thank you. Now, did you, for what purpose did you go to North Charleston to begin with?
To collect any evidence that might have been at that location.
And did you collect from any evidence from Officer Slager relative to this case?
Yes, I did.
And I'm going to start off with State's Exhibit number 48. Ask if you recognize that item, and if so, how?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is going to be Mr. Slager's duty weapon.
And what type of weapon is that?
This is a Glock. Glock 21 with 1 magazine and 5 cartridges, and 1 cartridge from the chamber.
Okay, so at the time it had 5 cartridges in the magazine and 1 in the chamber, is that correct?
Yes.
Those have been removed, correct?
Yes.
And what is the caliber of the weapon?
Give me just a minute. .45.
And is the State's Exhibit 48, is it? Is it in substantially the same condition now as it was when you acquired it from Officer Slager?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we would offer a State 48 in the evidence that there is no objection. No.
Admitted.
I hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 49 for identification, and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is Mr. Slager's issued taser.
And how do you know that?
I can tell by the serial number and the red safety clip that's been added to it.
And is that item in substantially the same condition now as when you acquired it from Officer Slager on April 4th?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we would offer States 49. And you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 50. Ask if you recognize that item.
I do.
What is that?
Mr. Slager's uniform shirt.
And it's been looked at numerous times, is that correct?
Yes, it has.
Despite that fact, is it in substantially the same condition now as it was when you retrieved it from him on April 4th?
Yes.
We would offer States 50, Your Honor. Now to States 51. Recognize that.
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Uniform pants.
Of Officer Slager,
That's correct.
and those were recovered from him on April 4th. And also,
Yes, they were.
once again, those have been looked at numerous times, but are they in substantially the same condition now as when you retrieved?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would offer States 51, I believe.
Admitted without objection.
Thank you. What time did you finish up at North Charleston Police Department?
1:10 p.m.
And where did you go then?
I responded to the initial location at Craig Road and Remount Road.
And what did you do upon arriving at Craig and Remount?
I spoke first with Agent Peterson and then with Al Brown to see what we needed to do with the remainder of the scene.
And what did you do initially there at the scene?
I went to the traffic stop location at the Advance Auto Parts.
And what did you do at Advance Auto Parts?
Photographed both vehicles that were there, and additionally to that, I took notes, measurements, and I prepared a rough sketch of their location.
And what vehicles were at Advance Auto that you were interested in?
A 2011 white Ford Crown Vic that had been driven by Mr. Slager, and a 1990 black Mercedes that had been driven by Mr. Scott.
Did you perform a brake light test on the Mercedes?
Yes, I did.
And why was that?
We were initially told that the reason for the traffic stop was for a brake light that was out.
And did you confirm which brake light, I should ask?
The middle brake light between the two rear seats and the back windshield.
Okay, and did you confirm that the light was in fact out?
It was out.
Did you take photographs at the time?
Yes, I did.
And we would offer States Exhibits 147 through 153, I believe, without objection.
They're admitted without objection.
Ms. Johnson, once again, I'll briefly run through these photos and just have you testify as to what they are depicting. Starting with 140, excuse me. We'll start with States 147. Could you tell our jury what that is depicting?
Mr. Slager's patrol vehicle.
That will be unit number 163, is that correct?
That's correct.
148.
Photograph of the rear of Mr. Scott's vehicle to include the South Carolina tag.
149.
The front driver's side and rear driver's side of Mr. Scott's vehicle.
150.
A pack of cigarettes and a cigarette lighter that were on the ground outside of the vehicle.
151.
Photograph of the interior of Mr. Scott's vehicle showing that the keys were in the ignition.
152.
That's a photograph of the brake light test being performed.
As well as 153.
An additional photograph of the brake light test being performed.
what was done with the two vehicles, or actually I should say, what was done with the two vehicles after y'all photographed them at the scene?
They were towed to the North Charleston Police Department warehouse.
And what did you do after you finished documenting the cars in the parking lot with the photographs?
I went to the Yellow Brick Road, for lack of a better phrase, location at the rear of the pawn shop.
Okay. And did what?
I believe at that point we were photographing markers that had been placed at that location.
And we went through all this with Mr. Brown yesterday, and I'm sure the jury will be thrilled to know that I'm not going through it again with you today. So we're going to move past that a little bit and tell the jury what y'all did after you finished processing the scene of the Yellow Brick Road.
We then went to the North Charleston Police Department warehouse where the vehicles had been towed.
And what did you do at the warehouse?
Additional photographs of both vehicles were taken, and then both vehicles were also searched.
And what did you locate during the search?
Nothing related to the shooting.
Did you search specifically, did you search the Mercedes for contraband?
Yes.
Did you locate any contraband?
No.
Did you search the car for drugs?
This vehicle was searched entirely for anything that would have been of evidentiary value.
And you didn't find anything?
No.
Moving on to the next day, which was Sunday, what did you and Officer or Agent Brown do with regard to Officer Slager's uniform?
We visually examined the uniform, and photographs were taken at the Forensic Services Laboratory.
And what was the condition of the uniform?
It appeared to have blood in 2 locations of the uniform.
And what locations?
The right breast pocket and the left front leg of the pants.
Could you put up States 136? What does States 136 depict?
That's a photograph of the uniform shirt with a scale marking the location of the blood that was swabbed.
Okay. And who did the swabbing of that location?
I believe Agent Brown swabbed the blood at that location.
Okay. And States 139. Can I have States 139, please, ma'am? And that shows the location of the other swab, is that correct?
That's correct.
How do you go about swabbing blood anyway?
It depends whether it's wet or dry, and in this instance it was dry.
So what did you do, or what was done?
2 swabs were wet with deionized water, and you wipe the swabs over the stain in question.
And then the swabs are dried and packaged and labeled and all that kind of good stuff, right?
Yep, correct.
Also on the 5th, what did you do regarding the taser collected from Officer Slager?
The taser was swabbed for touch DNA.
And you did that, is that correct?
That's correct.
What areas of the taser did you swab?
The entire exterior of the taser was swabbed.
Why did you swab the entire exterior of the taser?
The larger the surface area that is swabbed for touch DNA, the greater the likelihood that a DNA profile can be developed from it.
And whose decision was that? Was that yours or Agent Brown's, or did that come from higher up the chain?
I don't recall us having a specific conversation as to how the taser should have been swabbed.
In your experience, is that how you normally swab a weapon?
It's one of the ways that you can swab a weapon, yes.
Well, can you tell us why you swabbed it this way in this case?
The only time that I wouldn't swab it the way it was done is if we had known a specific area that had been touched, that was in question, that needed to be swabbed.
Were you aware of any such specific area that had been touched so as to put you on notice to swab particular areas of that taser?
No, we were not.
Nobody from the scene?
No.
Nobody from higher up in your chain of command?
No.
So basically, that the decision to swab the entire taser was your decision?
That's correct.
Is that what your lab recommends?
For instances like that, yes.
And why is that?
For the same reason that I said earlier, the greater the surface area that you swab, the greater the chance of developing a DNA profile from that.
And that's because you're not developing a DNA profile from blood or something like that generally, correct?
Correct.
What would you be developing a DNA profile from?
In this case, it would be touch DNA.
Which is?
Epithelial cells from individuals who handle an object.
Okay. And in your experience as a crime scene investigator, has touch DNA been an easy thing for y'all to acquire?
It's pretty hit or miss.
Unlike if you're dealing with blood or some sort of body fluid like that, correct?
That's correct.
Now, also a decision had been made, apparently, at some point, to process the taser for DNA as opposed to fingerprints. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And who made that decision?
I believe that would have been a conversation that happened between Al Brown and possibly Captain Ryan Neal before we left.
You were not present for that?
I was not, no.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask you about something that you weren't present for.
Okay.
I'm going to hand you what's previously been marked as State's Exhibit number 38 for identification and ask if you recognize that item.
Yes, I do.
What is that?
These are swabs taken from the taser.
Those are swabs that you had taken from the taser. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
And what did you do with those swabs after you swabbed the taser?
They were allowed to dry and packaged, sealed in the envelope, and then they were given to Al Brown.
Okay, you transferred them directly to Al Brown
Yes, I did.
in a sealed condition.
Yes.
And let me hand you State's Exhibits 36 and 37, see if you recognize those items.
Yes, I do.
What are those?
These are 2 sets of swabs taken from the uniform shirt and the uniform pants.
And you know that how?
It has my writing on the exterior of the pouch, and my writing is also on both of the swab envelopes.
Thank you. Once again, these were transferred directly to Agent Brown, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you alter or tamper with them in any way while they were in your possession?
No, I did not.
Okay, let's move ahead a couple of weeks to April the 20th of 2016. Did you have an occasion to return to the scene of the shooting?
Yes, I did.
For what purpose?
I returned twice on the 20th. The first was to take aerial photos of the scene, and the second was to collect additional evidence.
And tell us about this additional evidence.
I had been told earlier that day that 2 additional fired projectiles had been found in an alley adjacent to the yellow brick road.
And those items have been found by whom?
By Mr. Savage's experts.
Okay. So did you respond to the scene?
Yes, I did.
With whom?
Agent James Talon.
And I'd like you to refer to, I'll put this up there on the easel, what's previously been offered as State's Exhibit 16. And if you would, could you just point out for the jury where these bullets were located?
They were located on the diagram that's marked with orange triangles A1 and A2.
Could you point those out to the jury?
It's A1, and this is A2.
Okay. And is there a fence line along there as well?
There is, that runs right here.
There's a fence there, but isn't there also a fence on the other side?
There is.
What type of fence?
A wooden fence.
And it runs around, it goes around that corner?
Yes, it does.
And do you recall what's in the location of that little green box which says RP6 there?
I believe it's a shed on the other side of the fence.
Okay. Y'all didn't check over there on April the 4th, did you?
I personally did not check over there, no.
Did you end up collecting a couple of projectiles at that location?
Yes, I did.
And prior to collecting the projectiles, did you take photographs of where they were located?
I did.
Your Honor, this time we're up for states 154 through 159, I believe, without objection. That's correct. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 154. Could you show it, tell us what that depicts?
That's a photograph showing the location of the 2 orange flags that had been marked.
And when you say orange flags, you're talking about this one right here, is that correct?
Yes,
And this one over here, is that correct?
that's correct.
Now, if you would, could you kind of orient the jury on State's Exhibit 16 as to the direction that photograph was taken?
Sure. I would have been standing approximately in this area when that photograph was taken.
Okay. State's 155. What does that depict?
It's going to be a mid-range photo with one of the orange flags marking a projectile.
And that would be the one that's closest to the reference pole on your diagram.
That's correct, A1.
And states 156.
A close-up photograph of the projectile at A1.
That would be this item right there.
Yes. A photograph showing the location of the other projectile at the orange flag, which will be A2.
Okay. 158.
A close-up of the projectile at A2.
That would be that one there, correct?
That's correct.
And finally, 159. What is that depicting?
That's an overall photograph showing two defects to that side of the fence.
And that's taken from what perspective on State's Exhibit number 16, privacy diagram?
This location approximately. Those
So
two
that would-
X's.
That would be on the side facing toward where the shooting occurred, is that correct?
Can you repeat that?
That would be on the side of the fence toward where the shooting occurred, correct?
That's correct.
And did you recover those projectiles?
Yes, I did.
I hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 52 and 53 and ask if you recognize those items.
I do.
What are they?
The two fired projectiles recovered from that location.
And are they in substantially the same condition now as when you recovered?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, this time we would offer States 52 and 53 if there's no objection. Without objection. Court's indulgence for a moment. Could you please ask any questions, Mr. Chadwick?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll give you a couple of minutes in the jury room. Please do not discuss the case. We'll take 5 minutes, and you may step down. Please do not discuss your testimony with anyone.
Thank you.